Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's 8:02 a.m., October 15th. As I told Rick, today's National Grouch Day, so if anybody wants to be grouchy today, today's the day to do it. This is the Community Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. We have around the virtual table myself, Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd, Town Councilor Alberto Cortez, Town Councilor Barry Walters, Dwayne Martin, our Director of Community Development, Greg Summer, our Town Engineer, Parker Sorensen in our Engineering Department, and Joe Balskas, sorry.
You got it.
From VHB. I think I got everyone. I don't see anyone else. So call the meeting to order. The first item is the approval of the minutes. I don't think the approval of the minutes from September 29th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Let's see, then we will go on to item B, which is the resolution approving the automated traffic enforcement safety device plan, and I will turn it back to our town manager, Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone. So this morning we're presenting the draft of our automated traffic enforcement safety device plan. And this is the plan that we would be submitting to the Connecticut office of the State Traffic Administration. So once we've finalized this draft, which is very nearly finalized, just looking for one final review from our committee, this would be the plan that will be brought forward at our public hearing in November, and then ultimately for a vote by the town council that same evening. And then following that, we would submit it to the state for their approval. So this is a very comprehensive document. If you had a chance to take a look at it, it's well over 100 pages in total. But as you go through it, the majority of it focuses on identifying the top 20 locations. We'll ultimately have 15 locations, but we've added 5 more in there in the event that the state does not approve one of those 15. And each of these locations is supported by detailed speed and crash data. So it helps us provide really a clear data-driven foundation for our recommendations to the state, which ultimately will help us, we believe, with final approval. And as we've discussed really all along through this process, our goal through this initiative is to enhance safety for all roadway users. So pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, by allowing us to address areas where speeding and crashes have been most prevalent, we will believe will get us closer to achieving Vision Zero, which, as we know, is 0 deaths and zero serious injuries as a result of traffic crashes. You know, by 2033, we ultimately would like to do it much sooner than that. So this morning, we look forward to some committee feedback as we refine the plan before bringing it to the town council and the public for their final review and blessing. So through you, Madam Chair, I will turn things over to our consultant from VHB, Joe Balskas. Joe has a PowerPoint presentation that he will share with us this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, it's about a 10 slide presentation. So I want to run through the preliminary draft of the ATSD plan. A quick agenda, myself, some project updates, the locations that we talked about, and I'll give you a snapshot excerpts from the preliminary draft ATSD plan itself, and obviously some questions if needed. So just a quick update of where we are. We've obviously held 2 public information meetings, as you know, back in July and September. Had a lot of discussion at each of the meetings. We presented the initial draft of the locations. We've since finalized that, as Rick has talked about. We had several comments online through the email, as well as at the public information meeting. We responded to all the questions that we've had. I think this is actually more than 46 now at this point in time. So a lot of good feedback from the community with a lot of good questions and answers we provided as a result of the project team reviewing them. Just to jump into schedule real quick, where we are. The bottom bar gives you pretty much where we are in terms of the process and the tasks that we've done. Our steps include finalizing the preliminary draft ATSD plan, approval from you and from the town council. We've submitted a category exclusion draft to the town, which is a NEPA document, which is National Environmental Policy Act, which is required for the funding. And once that's all set, we'll then submit to Federal Highway, and then obviously to OSTA, as Rick has talked about. So in the process itself, we are now here, October 15th. We're planning on submitting to NEPA, as I mentioned, and then town council. Then shortly thereafter, we're submitting within a couple of days, depending on the comments we receive, to OSTA, and expecting approval from both Federal Highway Administration for NEPA, as well as from OSTA in January 2026, which isn't that far off. So we developed a screening process, as we mentioned in the previous presentation. You've seen this slide before. We had an initial list of locations that we presented using a methodology involving speeding, traffic volumes, school zones, pedestrian areas, various factors. We developed this initial list, continue with the data analysis, as Rick had talked about. We develop a final camera locations, and these are all the segments where the cameras are proposed across the town. There's basically 15 roadways in red, as you see there, and 5 in purple. It's our backup locations. We have a maximum of 2 per road, where you see some of the longer segments. And each location is basically both directions. You have a camera in both directions for each of these locations. So we went in a past presentation, showed in more detail locations. Obviously, see all the known roadways and arterials here that you expect to see speed cameras on, in the northern half of the town, and obviously the southern half of the town, including some of the other major roads: South Main, Flatbush, New Britain Avenue, and Troutbrook Drive. For other ones that we've basically figured out where they should go. And once we have these segments, it's a matter of where in these segments will these cameras be placed. So we've done a extensive analysis using the criteria provided by OSTA in terms of justifying these locations. As I mentioned, the speed related to crash history is a primary factor. The volumes, traffic stops, the geometry as well is a factor in where we place the cameras. We looked at using aerial images. We looked at using Google Street View, and we wanted to adhere to traffic control requirements, including school zones, pedestrian safety zones. We also looked at the equity part of it in terms of the qualified census tract, which is in the southern eastern part of town. Other requirements for this to be submitted include certification, as mentioned here, the ordinance that you've adopted, the public information meetings, the hearings that we've held, and the action plan that the town has prepared. So those are all requirements that go into this preliminary draft of the ATSD plan to be submitted. So the draft plan, I'm not going to show the entire plan, as Rick mentioned. It's actually almost 300 pages. But basically, we have a table of contents here. And there's our 20 locations. We have all the documents that I mentioned up here in the table of contents. We have all that. And we have 20 locations, individual locations, where we're showing the specific locations of the speed cameras and an appendix, which is basically the Vision Zero plan for the town. And each one of these locations, we have some data that on the left side here, which basically talks about the directions of travel, the speed data we have, posted speed data, roadway data. We also have some crash data as well. Hard to see here, but we documented the crash data at each of these locations. And then we also have site-specific data mapping showing where we expect the camera to be located on the roadway and by direction. This is a pictorial. It'll be determined by the contractor when they go to actually locate it, the appropriate location. We also have a plan, and it's more of a, in terms of each location, it's more of a schematic plan, as you see here. And it shows the signs that you'll see on the approach to each camera. This is eastbound, this is Albany Avenue, Route 44, going up the mountain basically. And the camera directions are red to the right, blue to the left here, going westbound, red going eastbound. And we show dimensions, we show signs, and these are standard signs that DOT uses, showing a photo enforced with the speed limit, then a photo enforced sign, then the actual camera. And that's how they've been done in the state so far. You basically get a speed limit sign, an enforcement sign, well ahead of the actual camera. Then you get a second one with just the speed limit and photo enforced sign here, and then you have the actual camera. And that's what's being used in other communities in Connecticut, as you may be aware. And we located those within dimensions that we have available, and trying to locate these not in front of people's houses, obviously at appropriate locations where that the camera can see the vehicle license plates as they're departing. So it's not an oncoming vehicle, it's departing vehicle. So like the cameras will take a picture of the license plate and obviously detect the speed of the vehicle. If the vehicle's over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, obviously that is the next step in the process, which goes to the police department to evaluate each one. So we have 20 plans for each of the locations. Again, they're showing 2 cameras per location for each of the locations. We developed this mapping for them. This is what will be submitted to the obviously State Traffic Administration for review. And they may have some comments on some of these. They may want to adjust some signs. They may have some comments on where we're putting the signs. But for the most part, this is what we are seeing be required. Also, I should mention on the side streets, if you were to pull out on a side street like Ferncliff Drive, and you're now in this zone, if you will, in advance of the camera, you also get a sign, just one small sign saying that, remind you that as you're pulling out from the side street, you will be in a you'll be in a photo enforced area. So we have them, so no one's trapped that is not aware of it in terms of the speed camera itself. So try to have sufficient signing on the approaches and on side streets within the photo enforced area. So that's kind of what we have for a package. A lot of materials, as you saw, the table of contents, and that's what's going to be submitted to town council and the package of all locations, and eventually to the Office of State Traffic Administration. So that's pretty much it. What I've got for presentation. I can take questions from the committee as needed.
Thank you, Joe.
Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Winograd?
Thank you. And I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask about it. And I brought this up I think last year in public safety. What happens, and we had a sort of record of, once this is in place, privacy license plates, the ones that we see out there that are blocked out or hard to see. I know they're illegal, but that doesn't mean people aren't using them. How did that get recorded on the camera, and is there any sort of remedy there?
I think the camera technology is pretty good that they're using. So I have not heard from the vendors that we've talked to that it's a major problem, but I know the camera technology is pretty amazing what they can do with the cameras. So a lot of it's software based. So I don't want to speak like I know exactly what they do, but I know that the technology is pretty impressive. So I would imagine they're able to overcome that to some extent. They can't be blacked out altogether. And if they are, then obviously it's another issue.
Right.
Like New York State's, like New York City's having on the George Washington Bridge, they have people actually blocking out their license plates. But I think that I know the technology is pretty good on that. So, but I would defer to the police department on that question. They must have raised that question with the vendors.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I don't have any questions. Their presentation is very thorough and gave me all the information that I needed. Just do one more round. I think somebody just came on. If anybody has any questions.
Madam Chair, this is Sherry.
Yes.
I just want to, just for the record, people ask this question, maintaining the record of the license plate. I just would like to have, just a review of the process. So just for the record.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Parker, do you want to, I know that we are, there's very strict rules in terms of disseminating any information once we have the license plates on record, but Parker, you want to provide a little more detail on that?
Yeah, just
Thank you.
generally, Madam Mayor, the both state law and our ordinance essentially specifies that personal identifiable information, PII, can't be kept in the event of, like, if there's not a citation. So if you're under 10 miles an hour, that will be not kept at all. For those that for the data that is kept, if you are over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, in the case of the speed cams, we have a essentially a 1 year duration for limited information, and that's for the intent of doing repeat offenses. So you can go from a $50 fine to a $75 fine. And then the state law also specifies that for more of the detailed PII, that we be deleting that after 30 days after that citation is resolved. So kind of two parts there, and that's right from the state law and our ordinance that we adopted earlier this year.
Thank you.
Last chance on the questions, if anybody has one. Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation. I'll let Rick close up on this. We
Yeah,
really
thank you,
appreciate
Madam
it. Thank you
Chair.
so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I know we've been talking about this for quite a while now, and I've had a number of public meetings as well. So, we're very excited about that next step. We will bring it to the council on October 28th to be set for a public hearing, and we're shooting for November 12th, which is that first meeting in November. So assuming that goes as scheduled, that will be the plan. We certainly have time between now and the 28th. So any questions that come up in the interim, feel free to reach out to us. And as we continue to refine and finalize this plan, that will be set on the October 28th council agenda. And then certainly we'll have a public hearing as well for any final questions or concerns that we can address. And then assuming everything goes well on the 14th or 12th, as I said, we will submit it to OSIS right after that meeting. So very excited to be moving on to that next step. So thank you so much for all of your help, support, and guidance through this process.
Okay, so now we will move on to agenda item C, which is a resolution appropriating funds for a consultant to assist the Building Inspection Division of the Department of Community Development. And I will turn it back to Mr. Ludwig.
Thank you. So this resolution would appropriate building permit fees to hire a consultant to assist our building division with plan reviews. And this support will provide the department with really, and we've talked a lot about this over the last 2 years, really, to really increase their capacity as we continue to manage the increased volume of building permit applications that we've seen over the last several years. So as you're driving by 950 Troutbrook, I'll use this as a quick example. You can see that building is really starting to come together, and we're spending a lot of time there as that moves through that construction phase. And 1700 Asylum will soon be joining them and becoming a more active site. So these larger projects, 1244 North Main, continue to draw from our building division. So this plan review consultant would help us when we need kind of a larger review to occur. We can farm it out to the consultant to do a review, and it frees up our inspectors to spend more time in the buildings that I mentioned, as well as the continued active permit process that we're continuing to see on the residential side as well. So the council has been very supportive of what we've been doing in the building division. You may recall just a couple of months ago, we hired an additional inspector. So we were running heavy +1 on the inspector side. That was very intentional to do that because we knew we had another inspector who would be going out on a medical leave. So we ran +1 for, maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks. And that other inspector is now out on a long-term medical leave. So we're back to kind of normal capacity, but with a couple of younger inspectors on our roster. This consultant will help free up some time for our inspectors to continue to work and meeting the demand of our residential permitting, as well as our commercial that we're seeing all over town. I'll pause there, Madam Chair, turn it over to our director, Dwayne Martin, if he has any comments he wanted to add or anything I may have missed.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Dwayne Martin, Director of Community Development. I just will add on real quick that obviously I'm very happy to have this on the agenda to help support the staff. The focus for this consultant would be to do permit application reviews for larger redevelopment projects like Mr. Leatherwood mentioned, 950 Tropic Drive, Fellowship Housing is another one. There's multiple phases coming on that development on Starkle Road. And we also have the former Yukon campus redevelopment coming up, as well as the Arapahoe redevelopment. So there's a lot of larger projects. So this is not, I don't envision this being a long-term situation. I think it's just to get us through this surge of activity. So
set it up today.
Thank you very much.
I think
Thank you,
it's supposed to be nice, not warm, but like we've been.
Sherry?
Nancy, good morning. You've been covering the Pentagon for almost 2 decades now.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, happy to entertain any questions from the committee.
Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Walters?
Hi, thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, there's a few people out there I know that get a little hung up on the term consultant, and I just wanted to ask, this is more semantics. This is a person who is going to be assisting us as kind of that extra person to get us through this hump, and it's not, somebody who's a true consultant, I guess, in the sense of say Stantec or one of those companies. So I just wanted to clarify that for those who might be a little hung up on that term.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councilor Walters' question. It's a great question. Absolutely. We call this a consultant, and they work for a consulting firm, but they're certified in what they're doing. They're essentially, instead of adding an additional inspector, which you've been gracious enough to support in the past, this is in lieu of that, we hired this firm to help us in the short term, assist us with these with the review process. So once we kind of get over the hump of this activity, we would just we wouldn't be in need of hiring them moving forward. So it's really a short term in lieu of hiring an individual, paying them benefits and all of that. It's just someone that assists us in the interim with the capacity.
Thank you.
Councilor Blanks?
Thank you. Good morning, and through you, Madam Chair. So my question sort of piggybacks off of Councilor Walters. Being a short term, is there a timeline attached to it? I know with the number of projects that we have online. So for the listening audience and more for my pleasure, I'm assuming that there is a timeline attached and they're consulting and they're in for a specific purpose. So can you elaborate on that, please?
So we don't have I mean, it will be for this fiscal year, as we continue to move through this fiscal year, but we have a dollar amount associated with the resolution. It's, I believe, $60,000, which I'm not saying we're going to use all 60,000. It's just as things come up and we need this person to step in and help us out, we'll continue to utilize them as we move through the fiscal year. So there's definitely an end date to it. It could be sooner than that. It's just a matter of, how we're managing all of these really larger commercial developments, as well as, the volume that would continue on the residential side as well. We just always want to keep up with that residential demand, and not have our folks see any kind of delay in their projects because of some of the larger projects that we have going on around town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for giving us the info on that. We know we have a lot going on with our large developments, so hopefully this will, as you said, give our staff more time to work on other things and keep us on schedule. So there's not anything on that. I will go to communications. I believe that Dwayne has a report. Is that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So we have Dwayne will give a summary of his department update. Thank you.
Good morning again, Dwayne Martin. I'll be very brief. I just want to touch on two projects, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has in the report or otherwise. The first one is a flood study that we started in June. I mentioned this before, but I wanted to give an update on it because we are in the outreach phase for this project. This is the Kane and Kennedy Brook watershed area flood study. So it's a pretty big area. It is mostly in West Hartford, but it does spread into the state of Hartford slightly. And this is an area that goes from, it's centered around the Park Road area. There is a webpage on the Engineering Division webpage for this project, so you can learn about the schedule, some of the work that's been completed already and will continue. There is an active survey for the public to fill out that's going to be available until November. We are going to be meeting with a couple of community organizations. The first one is tomorrow morning. We are going to the Park Road Association. And this is, we're getting assistance from a consultant on this, CDM Smith. So the town staff, engineering, and myself will present to the Park Road Association tomorrow. And then we're doing a similar community meeting in Hartford at the Parkville, for the Parkville Neighborhood Revitalization Zone. That meeting is in the evening. I believe it's at 6 o'clock on November 12th. And then there'll be a public meeting in the springtime. We haven't picked a date yet, but so far there's been survey work, meaning actual survey work at the location where the study is being conducted. And the data analysis of the storm drainage system will start in November. This project started, as I mentioned, in June of this year, and it's going to continue all the way to the end of next year. The goal of the project is to identify where we can improve the storm drainage system within the study area of West Hartford and Hartford, come up with some recommendations, and then hopefully we're able to use the study results to chase grant funding. A couple of elements for this project or this study that will make it a better candidate for grants is the fact that it's multi-jurisdictional. So it's West Hartford and Hartford. It's not just West Hartford. There are some environmental justice areas contained within the study. And there's also issues related to the MDC sewer system that are indirectly or directly connected to our storm drainage systems. So there's a clean water component. So all of those factors involved should help us chase after some grants. We're also looking to do green stormwater infrastructure, which was a product of this study, which was a grant from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection for $700,000. So we're not just looking to build our way by increasing pipe size, which is not really feasible or sustainable. We're looking for green infrastructure improvements as well. So if you're interested in learning more about the study, obviously you can come to the Park Road Association meeting tomorrow or the planned public meeting in the spring, or just look at the webpage. And then the second project I want to mention is in the center. Of course, our center roadway reconstruction, particularly on LaSalle Road. We're getting pretty close to finishing the work for this calendar year. The goal was to get everything completed by November 20th, and we are on track for that for LaSalle Road. They have put down the binder asphalt on LaSalle Road and opened it back up to two-way traffic. There's still some pavement markings left to do, but for the most part, there's available parking and travel in both directions, which is nice to see that return. There's some sidewalk work remaining on both sides, but it's really getting close to completion. You can see that the final product was just nice as far as where the curb is going to be, the parking areas, and the widened sidewalks. And I'm happy to report the trees are coming soon. So the plan is to have trees delivered. I think they're coming from New Jersey, was the nursery that was selected. But they'll be shipped to the area this week, and then they'll start the install of the trees next week. So that'll be a welcomed addition or replanting for that roadway. It should look great when it's done. There's still a lot of components to be installed on the sidewalk area as well. But the vast majority of the most disruptive construction is done. There's still a little bit left, but there may be some work that goes beyond November 20th. I just wanted to point that out. But if it does, it'll be coordinated and it'll be very minimally disruptive. And then, of course, we'll continue the project on Farmington Ave in the spring. The date is yet to be determined for that. And that's the end of my report. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Councilor Walters?
Sorry, me again. Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dwayne. My question is more around the green infrastructure. Can you just tell us a little bit about what that will look like? I have an idea in my head from what I've seen in other places, but I would just like to hear a little bit more. And I'm sure folks out there would like to hear a little bit more.
Sure, absolutely. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councilor Walters. So there's a number of green stormwater infrastructure elements that were presented to the town as possibilities. And the consultant also looked at locations where they potentially could go. So green stormwater is a method that's used so that you are able to capture runoff, whether that's from rain or snowmelt, and try to reintroduce it into the ground, as opposed to just have it go into the storm drainage system and end up in a water course. Obviously, that can tend to lead to additional flooding, but it also slows down the process, and it's good for the environment for many reasons. So the first step was identifying some potential types, and this is all going to be added to the webpage that I mentioned before. So it could be just simply having some roadside swales or bioswales. It could be adding rain gardens on private properties or town properties, similar to the bioswales. They just capture the runoff and introduce it back into the ground, as opposed to letting it go into the storm drainage system. Some of these could be landscaped, whether they're in the public right of way or on private properties, yet to be determined. There's also above ground detention basins or below ground detention systems that could be introduced. There's even green roofs that could potentially be constructed. All of these are challenging from a maintenance standpoint to some degree and have to be coordinated. Some require specialized equipment. We even talked about permeable pavement, which is great, but obviously it's tough given our soil conditions, but that would also require different maintenance practices, potentially equipment for public works. So we've met with our consultant, and then we met with other directors, myself, Helen Rubino-Churko from Leisure Services, Bob Palmer from Plant Facilities, and John Phillips from Public Works, to look at whether it's a public street right-of-way that actually has a road, or it's just vacant like a paper street, whether it's a town property, a school or a park, or a town building, to see what are our options. And the consultant pointed out certain areas, Charter Oak School being one of them, Whiting Lane School being another one, for potential to capture some of that stormwater that exists and get it back into the ground in some fashion. So there was some comments that were given by the directors. Some of the green infrastructure is much easier to maintain with staff and equipment that we have. But it was very, very much a preliminary conversation. We also looked at and made a good connection with the One Park redevelopment on Park Road. There's a water course that flows through their site. It has experienced flooding. There may be an opportunity to do some green infrastructure on their property. They welcomed the discussion, but obviously it's going to take a lot of analysis and further time to investigate these to ultimately decide what might be a good fit. There were questions regarding green infrastructure in the survey for the project. We got some good feedback from the public. And we'll continue with that conversation and get input and see what works best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. I know that the city of New Haven has employed these roadside swales, if you will. So if people are down there and they put plantings in them, it's just a depression right off the side of the street downtown. So if folks are down there, they might check them out to kind of get an idea of what the possibility, one of the possibilities might be. Thanks again.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your presentation this morning. And when did you say that this, let me see through my notes. So you've got the meetings, what was the date of the meeting in Hartford? I'm sorry.
Sure. It is November 12th, and it's at the, let's make sure I get the specifics correct. Bear with me. It's at the Parkville Community Center, which is located at 11 New Park Avenue in Hartford.
Okay.
And the meeting is scheduled to start at 6 p.m.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. And I guess now we will move on to do we have any future agenda items? No? Okay, well, then that puts us at adjournment. Motion to adjourn? Anyone?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
But I'll do it.
All in favor?
We just want to say aye.
Yeah, you just want to stay? Okay. All right. Thank you guys and have a
Thanks,
nice
everyone.
day.
Take care.
Thanks, Madam Chair.